Wow. How about that for impressive? Yeah. Golden State played the brand of basketball that we thought they were capable of playing, and it took a lineup change for Steve Kerr to realize that, hey, this works for us. Might think, why did he start Andre Iguodala? Go with the smaller lineup, moving Draymond Green, who plays the number 3, plays a small forward, and move him to the center position. Why would you do that, knowing that Timothy Mozgov of Cleveland is 5 inches taller than Green? That's a bit of a risk. Well, this lineup really seemed to work at the end of Game 3. Remember, the Cavs were just kicking, the Warriors all over the court. At one point, up 20 points in Game 3 late in the third. And then the Warriors started chipping away at that lead, and having Iquodala in the game and having, Bogut out and moving Green to the center, that seemed to help. They lost the game, but they made a furious comeback, and at one point had that Cleveland lead down to 1 before the Cavs finally pulled away. That might have given Steve Kerr, head coach of the Warriors, an idea. Light bulb must have went off above his head, thinking, you know what, let's start with this lineup. In the beginning, it looked like a mistake because the Cavs got off that 7-0 lead. Cleveland at one point had 14 points just barely over 4 minutes into the game. But then Golden State, that they stuck with the lineup, and when they were in transition, Iguodala seemed like he was a part of those fast breaks. Hitting shots, getting assists, and his shots, by the way, were mid-range, and also had 4 3-pointers in the game. He and Curry, by the way, ended up with 22 apiece. And after the slow start, we saw the Warriors look like the Warriors during the regular season. They had 31 points at the end of the first quarter, and not too often in this series have they had the lead. And once they get up by 15 or more this season, they haven't lost. And at halftime, they were up 12. And, you give Iguodala credit for that. He's a veteran. Look, he was an all-star when he was with Philly. And, of course, with Denver, he contributed big time. He's getting up there in years, so he's handled his role as a reserve player well. But last night, he went from a supporting cast member to a starter to a flat-out headliner. He was giant in Golden State's romp over the Cavaliers. No question, though, before we go any further, that he was a defensive impact as well. In the limited time that he guarded LeBron James, I think it was about 10 minutes, King James didn't do much. Made only 1 field goal when Iguodala was guarding him. James, I think, ended up with 20 or 21 for the game. No question, the cut that he sustained late in the second quarter when Bogut fouled him pretty hard, and James' momentum took him into the camera section behind the bucket, and camera lens, I guess, cut James on the head. And at the time, you're thinking, oh my goodness, how serious is this? Well, James ended up coming back and playing after he got stitched up, and he struggled big time, but he was struggling before that anyway, and part of that's fatigue. He's played about 48 minutes as King James per game in these finals, and to me, it's impossible for him to play that much and still be the LeBron James that we've seen throughout his career. He has to carry much more of a load, and that has really showed. There's no doubt that Coach Black does not have much confidence in the bench. Otherwise, he'd be playing 9 or 10 players, which he has, but right now he only trusts a few of them to keep up with Golden State. And last night they just had that 7-man rotation. Now you might be thinking, well, Golden State played with a 7-man rotation last night for the most part. Yeah, they did, but they haven't had to go to that too often this season. The fatigue factor, no question, is different between these two teams. And without Kyrie Irving, without Kevin Love, Black can only really have that 7-man rotation to be effective. It was only a 9-man rotation when Love and Irving were playing anyway. So there's no question Iguodala's performance was big on both sides. And also, Draymond Green, I was critical of him from games 2 and 3 because he didn't do much. And last night he did plenty. Had one heck of a game and got his shot back. Thompson, of course, Clay contributes. And Stephen Curry really started slow in this game. He did, but second half, he hit shots when his team needed them the most. Probably the biggest sequence was when the Cavs, who had a big third quarter, got back into the game. Looked like they're going to be down by 3 entering the fourth. And then right before the third quarter expires, Curry hits a 3 under pressure. That took it from 3 to 6. And, of course, Coach Black needing to get LeBron a rest. Usually rest him at the start of the second and start of the fourth quarter because of the long delay between quarters. Well, that took the lead from 6 to 10. early in the fourth with James' absence, and Coach Black had to get James back in. Couldn't give him a full 3 minutes rest. Had to get him back in there with just over 10 minutes to go in the game. And once that lead got to double digits, it never got back to single. And Golden State just had too much energy. Cleveland had heavy legs, and that included LeBron. And J.R. Smith still, in lately, you wonder if he could be that second guy for LeBron, even though I know he's more of a bench player, role player. We've seen him go off in previous games from three-point range. Didn't hit a single three last night. His game was nowhere. And Harrison Barnes, you talk about a guy who played critical. He certainly did for Golden State on Thursday night, especially in the second half when Cleveland was chipping away at that lead. Hit a big three to make sure that Cleveland wasn't ever going to get in position to take the lead. In the losing cause, though, give credit to Timothy Mozgov. Led all scorers in the game with 28 points. Again, he took advantage of the height mismatch, getting offensive boards. And how about Tristan Thompson, not known as a scorer? Well, he scored plenty last night. By his standards, he was already in double figures by halftime. And again, had another nice rebounding game. But Iman Shumpert, after the early start in which he got a three, again, his game really didn't get truly elevated. And you could tell that the gap between games 4 and 5, where it's 2 days off, not just one, is really coming at a great time for the Cavaliers. I'm not prepared to say anybody has control of this series, because once you think you have the series figured out, it seems like the opposite happens, okay? If you are being completely neutral and aren't a fan of either team. Game 5 Sunday from Oakland becomes the best 2 out of 3 now. Game 6, obviously, Tuesday back at Cleveland. Somebody will be playing for a world championship, and if it comes down to it, we'll be back in Oakland Thursday for that decisive Game 7. But there's no question that Coach Black of the Cavaliers is going to pretty much have to do what Coach Kerr did in Game 4, and that is make a big impact somewhere with the roster change or a position change or something, because at this rate, I don't think Cleveland is going to have enough gas in order to get to the finish line. It's not an empty, but it's kind of in that less than quarter tank range when it comes to their impactful players. Do we see more Kendrick Perkins? I don't know. Do we see more of Miller, Mike Miller, the terrific three-point shooter, but probably a liability on defense? We'll see what Cleveland has in store as the Warriors not only get a much-needed win, but looked a lot like themselves and took care of the issue of who the better team was on Thursday. Doesn't mean that the series is over yet, but it does mean that a change has occurred. We'll have another post-game for you sometime Sunday night or Monday morning as, again, Golden State, too much for Cleveland on Thursday night. Catch you next time.